Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoy thoughtful deep dives into the stories everyone is discussing, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss a reveal. Today we're unpacking a rumor cycle that has dominated timelines and comment sections. What really led to the unexpected union of Barış Arduç and Gupse, and why is Elçin Sangu, Barış's iconic screen partner, suddenly at the center of the conversation? We'll walk through the timeline, separate what's confirmed from what's conjecture, and explore why audiences keep blending on-screen chemistry with off-screen lives. Settle in, this is a story about fame, boundaries, and how a single whisper can become a headline. First, some context. Before Gupse and Barış Arduç were discussed as a married couple, the names Elçin and Barış had already become shorthand for a certain brand of Turkish television romance. Their work together defined an era of lightness and tension perfectly balanced, banter sharpened into tenderness, lingering looks that suggested unspoken chapters, and a rhythm that made even the quietest scene feel charged. That dynamic traveled far beyond Turkey, subtitled clips spread across platforms, fan edits multiplied, and international viewers who had never visited Istanbul began using the characters' lines as their own love language. In short, Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç became the kind of on-screen duo that makes audiences root for the impossible, that fiction might become fact. This is where the new rumor cycle found oxygen. According to the most widely shared version, Barış Arduç supposedly approached Elçin Sangu about exploring a real-life relationship, some even call it a proposal, and that proposal was declined. Shortly after, the narrative continues, Barış found unexpected harmony with Gupse, a creative force in her own right, and their friendship deepened into marriage. It is a neat story, emotionally satisfying and easy to share. It is also precisely the kind of story that demands caution. Why? Because what fans want to be true about actors they love often says more about the audience than it does about the people on screen. Let's trace how this particular arc gathered speed. It began with a single claim on a fan account, a short post suggesting Elçin had turned down Barış for personal reasons. No documents, no dates, no byline, just a statement framed as insider knowledge. Within hours, other pages copied the text, sometimes adding invented details, a cafe meeting here, a late-night call there, a close friend who conveniently remains unnamed. The algorithm did the rest. Because the claim touched three high-interest names, Elçin Sangu, Barış Arduç, and Gupse, engagement surged. Each repost encouraged a dozen more. Soon the original uncertainty was buried beneath the loudness of repetition. But beyond the noise, there is a quieter, more practical history to consider. Barış Arduç and Gupse worked in overlapping creative circles long before any marriage headlines. Their bond, by most credible accounts, grew out of collaboration, respect, and shared humor, the small, sturdy things that build a life more reliably than fireworks. This doesn't require anyone else's rejection to make sense. Two artists can find one another because who they are fits, not because someone else said no. Yet the rumor persists precisely because audiences have already written another script in their minds, Elçin and Barış as inevitable. When reality refuses the role, people go searching for backstage explanations. What about Elçin Sangu? If there is a consistent trait across her interviews and public appearances, it is a preference for clarity and professional boundaries. She has never needed gossip to amplify her work. She does her scenes, handles her press, and goes home. For someone like that, the sudden recasting of her as a hidden hinge in someone else's love story is not just inaccurate, it is reductive. It flattens a career into a rumor, as though the most interesting thing about Elçin is whether she said yes or no to a colleague. That is a disservice to her craft and to the audience's intelligence. Still, there's a reason this conversation won't die. Elçin and Barış sold a version of love so gracefully that audiences felt entitled to a sequel. Fans began to read small coincidences as signs, a similar caption tone, a shared music cue, the way one would smile when the other's name appeared in an interviewer's question. This is parasocial literacy at work, the tendency to build cathedrals out of crumbs. When Gupse entered the frame as Barış's partner, the narrative had to shift. For some, it shifted easily, admiration for a couple whose humor, creative drive, and low-drama approach felt refreshing. For others, it required a plot device, and rumor was a convenient one. Producers, unsurprisingly, watch these cycles with both fascination and caution. On one hand, the fierce loyalty that builds around a pairing like Elçin and Barış can carry a new series to instant success. On the other hand, it can crowd out the performer's ability to do anything else. If a casting decision becomes a referendum on a personal life, even the most elegant script will struggle to breathe. That is why publicists and managers prefer a consistent message: on-screen is on-screen. Off-screen is not a puzzle to be solved by the crowd. Barış Arduç can commit to a role with Elçin Sangu and commit to a life with Gupse without these commitments existing in conflict. Let's talk about the audience role, because it matters. Fans are not the villains of this story, they are its engine. Their enthusiasm keeps projects funded and careers sustained. But enthusiasm has a sharper edge when it slides from celebration into possession, when a viewer's imagined version of two actors becomes a claim on their choices. The healthiest fandoms are the ones that love the work honestly and the people kindly. That means cheering a marriage not because it validates a theory, but because two adults decided that their futures fit together. It means applauding a screen reunion not because it proves what should have happened, but because two professionals still have creative electricity years later. So, what do we actually know, and what should we handle as speculation? We know Barış Arduç and Gupse chose each other, not as a rebound or a consolation prize, but as a deliberate partnership. We know Elçin Sangu and Barış created a timeless on-screen rapport that continues to enchant audiences. We do not know that Elçin ever received, much less declined, a proposal from Barış. To present that as fact would be to confuse a viral fantasy with reality. The responsible stance is simple: enjoy the story you loved watching, respect the people living a story you cannot see. Still, there is a human thread to follow: how these rumors land for the three names involved. For Gupse, the narrative can feel like a backhanded compliment: we're happy for you, but only if we imagine someone else's rejection made room for your joy. That implication is both unfair and untrue. For Barış, it suggests that his marriage was reactive rather than intentional, denying him the dignity of choosing happiness on purpose. For Elçin, it traps her in a false binary: saint for saying no, spoiler for saying yes. None of these frames honor the complexity of adult lives. If you zoom out, a clearer picture emerges. The entertainment industry thrives on myths: what sustains careers is work. Elçin keeps taking roles that stretch her. Barış keeps reappearing in projects where restraint and presence do more than volume. Gupse keeps building worlds with pen and performance, juggling the discipline of writing with the risk of acting. That is the triangle that deserves attention, not a triangle of romance, but of craft. Will the rumor cycle fade? Eventually. These things always do. Another headline will arrive, another pairing will capture imaginations, another set of clues will be assembled into a story that feels too good not to believe. Until then, the wisest response is to choose curiosity over certainty. Ask for sources. Separate what is confirmed from what is comfortable. Remember that 2 hours of screen magic can take months of careful work, and that the people who made it possible do not owe us their private lives as payment. Now it's your turn. How do you keep the line between appreciating on-screen chemistry and respecting off-screen boundaries? Would you like to see Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç team up again in a fresh genre, perhaps a grounded drama, a sharp comedy, or a slow-burn thriller? And what kind of story would let Gupse's voice as a writer and performer shine alongside them in the same cinematic universe? Share your thoughts below. We read your comments, and the best ideas often come from you. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, hit the like button, and consider clicking join for exclusive long-form analyses and production timelines when official news drops. Thank you for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.